Today, this original Nintendo DS is getting a full shell replacement. The shell has had the common chemical reaction known as metallic plastic syndrome. It has made the shell brittle, it's scratched, and the shell's broken. As you can see, the console is in totally decent condition. However, due to the fact that the chemical reaction has occurred, the console still functions like normal, so it definitely deserves a new shell. I'll walk you through the whole reshell, step by step, so you can follow along to take your console from looking like this to looking like this. Alright, so let's get started. For the tools, you're going to need a screwdriver with both a Phillips and a tri-wing, a spudger, and preferably soft tip tweezers with either ceramic or nylon tip, some kind of flat metal jimmy tool, a standard toothbrush, some masking tape, and some scissors, IPA 99%, and a microfiber cloth. Then finally, some kind of repair surface, preferably silicone or rubber. The first step is to remove the Phillips screw holding in the battery cover. Now remove the battery. Check the battery for swelling or damage, as these commonly need to be replaced. Luckily mine is not, but yours may be, and if so, it is highly suggested to replace it. Next, please remove the 7 tri-wing screws. Whoops, almost forgot about the lanyard. If your hinge is broken, make sure to hold the top half in place, but you can go ahead and remove the bottom shell. The person that sent this console in got pretty lucky. This is a CPU 20 console. Alright, next we can go ahead and unclip the ribbon cable, the antenna, and these cables. First, we will do the main ribbon cable. Using the flat head of your spudger to get underneath the flap and push it up. Now you're going to do the same thing for the top screen ribbon cable, and you are going to lift up. You can use the very edges of your fingers to grab and pull out the ribbon cable. Bit careful in this step. You can just pull it out like that. Now this part can be a little tedious, but it's not that difficult. These are the cables for the backlight and the digitizer. You're going to need to lightly disconnect them by pushing up on these little tabs on the right and left sides of the cable. They just push up with a little bit of force, and you're going to need to do it gently, going back and forth until they are all the way loose, just like that. Now use your tweezers to grab the ribbon cable and pull it out of place. Grab the gold end of the antenna and pull it up. And there you go. Don't attempt to try to pull that ribbon cable out quite yet. Now we are going to remove the 4 Phillips screws. In order to remove the motherboard, we are going to place our fingers kind of like this, grabbing both the connectors for the cart slots. We're going to gently lift up on the motherboard, just like so, making sure to let these cables pass through the hole in the motherboard. Then, while the ribbon cable is still connected, just keep lifting, then gently push on the sides, kind of like this, and it will loosen the ribbon cable. Now you can go ahead and remove the motherboard, and there it is. That is the motherboard of your Nintendo DS console. This is a CPU 20. Yours may be either a CPU 1 or a CPU 10, but this is the most special one. Coincidentally, I did not expect to get this one in this console, but hey, that's pretty cool, and I can't wait to flash it. Next, you are going to remove all the excess parts, the buttons and the triggers and everything. First, you get the membranes, then all the buttons. Be a little careful with the triggers as they have a spring right there. Just use your thumb to kind of block it and pull it out just like that. Same for the other side. Next step is to remove the bottom screen. Most people tear the foam here alongside the ribbon cable, but I've learned that you can just take your spudger, push it down on the very edge of the foam, and just sort of pick it and pull the foam out of place. It can be a little difficult at times, but this is the way to do it. Now you're going to grab the ribbon cable while holding the foam in place. There's an adhesive pad underneath the cable holding it to the screen. Just pull very gently and remove it like this. It will be a little difficult sometimes, but there you go. Now opening the hinge very gently, you're going to use your thumb to push the screen out of place while holding it as a whole unit, and then grab the screen and pull it out of place, and there you go. Now the next step is to put it down on its top side and fold it open just like so. There are 4 rubber caps here hiding some screws underneath. We are going to go ahead and remove these, and then we will take apart the top half. For this step, you're going to use some kind of tweezers. Sometimes they will fall apart just like this, but just keep removing every chunk if they disintegrate. Remember, most of these hinge caps are almost 20 years old at this point, so they will fall apart. Now we are going to remove the 4 Phillips screws. As you can see, these still have the adhesive on them as they separated from the rubber cap. However, you can just puncture the adhesive with your screwdriver and still remove the screw either way. Depending on how bad the metallic plastic syndrome is on your console, you may or may not experience some parts of the shell breaking during the next few steps. I just must advise you to be cautious as some of these shells are very, very fragile. This one is already shown signs of the metallic plastic syndrome with the gray discoloring and that sort of yellowish tint underneath the buttons. I'll be making a more in-depth video about that soon. Now, taking a tool very similar to this one, we are going to want to very gently put it in between the 2 top shell parts of this console. Just kind of put it in there. There are some clips holding it in place, so you're going to want to sort of prevent those from breaking, but they may or may not break. Just very carefully wiggle it back and forth and hear those clips snapping open. Like that. Most of the time when you get 1/2, you can just grab it and pull it open just like that. Underneath the ribbon cable, there is a hidden little Phillips head screw, so let's go ahead and remove that. This screw is holding in the hinge cap, so be a little careful and hold it in place, and then remove the screw. After that is done, remove it. Next, there are 2 more Phillips head screws to remove. With that removed, you're going to want to use your tweezers to very carefully fold over this daughter board. You're going to want to repeat the same process for the ribbon cable removal, using one edge to sort of ease its way underneath there. Pull out the top screen ribbon cable, remove that. Then you're going to want to very carefully remove that ribbon cable. Now, you're going to take this ribbon cable, hold it underneath your thumb, while you take the spudger and you pick out the little latch just like you did before, and then take that out. Now this can be rather tricky, but this is one of the hardest parts of the process. This is removing the ribbon cable. First, you're going to remove this little bracket, making sure it doesn't get caught on the antenna cable. Set that aside. Then you're going to gently remove the ribbon cable by following the 90-degree angle, pushing it through like this. Then you're going to unfold the cable, and as you pull it out, now as you hit this corner, you're going to want to make sure to follow the edge, and as you get to the connector, you're going to want to pull very gently. During this step, you're going to want to make sure the antenna is on that top part of the hole, making sure not to damage it in the process, like that. You're going to gently pull the antenna cable to follow, and then pull that through the curl in the ribbon cable. Now the daughter board is free. Now you're going to repeat what you did on the bottom screen, and gently and slowly just pull at the ribbon cable until the old adhesive gives way to allow you to just take the ribbon cable out. Now we are going to remove the two speakers. With the flat end of the spudger, you're just going to put it underneath the side of the shell here and take the speaker out. Same for the other side. Before we remove the top screen, we're going to need to remove the hinge barrels. This can be one of the most tedious processes in taking apart your console. Typically, this is the hinge that breaks, and whether or not your console was closed or open, the hinge barrel will be left in that rotation. Typically, the hinge is left in the open position, so we're gonna just remove it, but make sure to note that, as we will get to that in a minute. Just take your spudger and push lightly, and it will come straight out. Make sure that you keep what side was on top on the bottom. You can just put a little piece of tape like here or something to make sure that you mark that. Sometimes you will need to take a screwdriver and use that to push it out. Sometimes you gotta be really careful, and sometimes you gotta put some force, but just go slow and don't take any super aggressive action towards it, as you can break the hinge barrel. But there, I like to use masking tape to identify what was the top half, because you can break your hinge barrels doing this, and they don't really easily sell replacements as of speaking, so make sure to note that. Now that you've removed the hinge barrels, both the halves can just separate. In order to remove the screen, you are going to push on this end, and then vice versa, just alternating between them gently. If you do it right, you can grab the screen and just gently pull it out of place. As a warning though, in this step you can break your shell, so probably if you've experienced that, that is entirely normal. That is just a sign of the deterioration of the shell quality. Now the final step in disassembly may sound a little crazy, but you're gonna take the foam off. You are going to literally break the shell in two in order to get to the Nintendo badge. I only do this on consoles with metallic plastic syndrome like this one, where the shell has deteriorated and it won't really be that usable in the future. And since it's already broken, you might as well break it some more. But if your shell does not have metallic plastic syndrome, it can be really difficult to break the shell, and it can be dangerous sometimes because it is as strong as normal plastic. But if yours is not, you should be able to do something just like this. Yep, I almost missed, but as you can see, it broke just enough where I can just pick it. If you did it just right, you can just easily just pull on the badge, and voila. Now you get the official Nintendo badge to reuse it on your console. This is only really good when you're doing a reshell the exact same color. If you're not, you can still do it, but it will not match. As for the scrap shell parts, sometimes the bottom shell, just like this one, can be reusable, as these parts don't seem to deteriorate as much. However, this bottom shell here is reusable, but yeah. So here are all the parts you need from your console: the battery, the ribbon cable, the two screens, the digitizer, the motherboard, the spacer, the two speakers, the daughter board, and the badge up there. Now, in order to reassemble the console, we are going to need to prep the shell and clean some of these components. First, we will do a bit of maintenance on the motherboard. You just take a bit of IPA, put it in the charge port, then you just kind of clean it a bit, just give it a little bit of a dusting, kind of hit the front of the game cart. Typically you can take a cotton bud and put it in there, but this one's not that dirty. Just put a bit on the headphone jack and the little connector here. There's a bit of caution. You can remove the volume slider only on the CPU 20, but on some of the CPU 1 and 10, it will be fused to the slider, so it will actually break off this little plastic tab there, and it will come with the little plastic part, so be careful. Make sure to note that. You can check by lightly tugging on it, and it should come off with no pressure at all, but if it doesn't, leave it. Trust me on that one. Just put a bit in the slider, and then you just slide that back and forth a bit. This motherboard is actually an example, so it does not need that much cleaning, but if yours is dirty, I highly suggest to do that. If you have some corrosion on your game card slot, mine doesn't, that's normal. Next step in the cleaning is to remove this old goo off of the digitizer. In order to do that, you take your microfiber cloth and you just put it around your finger like this. You take some IPA, you just kind of dab some on there, and then you just kind of rub it off. Be careful, don't apply too much IPA as it can seep into the screen. Just enough to, that's pretty gross. Just enough to, clean the screen off. Just don't apply too much, but pretty much that's good. Almost forgot the hinge barrels, so make sure to remember that. Sorry if that was a bit confusing, but there they are. Make sure to inspect your ribbon cable, just in case you tore it. This one seems good. Seems to be no problems in the ribbon cable. If you did tear yours, you can buy a replacement for like under $10. But no worries if you did. That's common. It's happened to me before. There we are. There's the new shell. So let's go ahead and start the process. First, we are going to very gently unclip the plastic clips in the new shell. You're going to want to basically do the same as you did on the other shell, but be a bit more careful as you can damage it. Before it didn't really matter, but now it kind of does. Just get in there and slightly back and forth. Move over a bit. Just oh. Get your finger in there and be able to get it mostly open. However, you're gonna have to be a bit more careful as the clips are stronger. Now with all that separated, you can set that aside for now. Let's go ahead and show everything we have. So first we have a couple bags, one with foam, a sticker, some membranes, the new badge, which you're not going to need. You can just go ahead and set that aside. Rubber cap, rubber square, some buttons there. Here's everything else, the little springs, the little nut for the battery cover, and all the rest of the screws. You can just take those out and pour them on your surface. Then you're going to want to go through those, find the little black screws, set those aside. Take the nut and the spring, set those aside. The longer screw is for the hinge cap. The 4 little silver screws that are a bit longer are for the top shell. The 2 very small screws are for the daughter board, and then the 4 slightly longer gold ones are for the motherboard. Take all the buttons, set those a bit off to the side. Also the LED indicator, the sticker and the foam, you're going to set those aside alongside everything else, except for the screws, leave them where they are. Now take the top shell, put that aside, the bottom shell and the battery cover also to the side. Now take the 2 inner frames, set them as they would if the system was closed. Then you're going to take your hinge barrels, remove the tape, make sure to remember where it went, line it up as it was, take the spudger and push that in, angle just like that. Now for the right hinge, it's perfectly fine. A little bit of wiggle is normal as these aftermarket shells aren't perfect, but this is how it should be. Sometimes if you open it, the hinge barrel will slide right back out, so make sure to push them back in. Do one more test. After it's done, it should somewhat look like this. It can be a lot more tricky than what I showed on camera, and honestly, I'm surprised at how easy this was. Typically, it's a bit more difficult, so I'm just going to continue with the video, but there you go, I guess. Next step is to put the screen back in how it was. Just like so. Next, the speakers. Make sure not to forget this little spacer, put it right here. Now you're going to do the reverse process for putting this little ribbon cable through. In order to do that, you're going to need to fish the antenna cable through. Make sure to put it with the connector side facing up. First the right side, then slide the antenna through. Pull it a bit, make sure it doesn't get caught on the edge. Then push the connector through very gently. If it's stuck, don't push too hard, as you can damage the connector or the ribbon cable. There you go. Now you're gonna take the ribbon cable, push it through very gently. Follow the 90-degree turn. Keep pushing it, follow the turn again. And then voila, now you've fit the ribbon cable through. Take the Wi-Fi card, set that over here, and fold over the ribbon cable and stick it in place. There's sort of a guide on the screen. That's how it should be. Now you can take the daughter board and just connect it back exactly the way it was. First, the backlight, make sure this is connected in all the way or you can pop a fuse on your system. Next, the top screen ribbon cable. Next, the standard ribbon cable that goes through the hinge. You just push it like that and close it. That should be good. Then you're going to gently fold that over. It can be a little short sometimes, but you're just gonna make sure to push it down in place. Make sure it goes through the two holes. And then that should be good. Then while holding the board in place with your thumb, take this little screw about this size and then put it where it belongs. Screw it in, then counterclockwise take it out and then put it back in. So you have to build the threads for every screw, so make sure to repeat that process as you can get the strongest threads and you will make the best use of your new shell. But then, once you're done with that, you just fold open the console a bit, set it like this. Be careful with the hinges as they can come out of place, but then that should be good. You take the top shell, put your OEM badge where it belongs, right there. Take the new adhesive foam, remove it, and place it exactly like this. There you go, because this is insulating the screen right here. It's a little important to have this. It does minorly protect the top screen from getting damaged. Now with that done, you can just close the console again, seat the top shell part down, and boom. You are now good with the top half. Just make sure all the clips are snapped and boom. Now next you will open up the hinge, then you will seat it just like before. Now take the slightly longer silver screws and prepare them to go in place. Now with that done, you close the shell. You find your hinge cap, which I forgot to show earlier. It's typically in this little bag. You just take the hinge cap, you reinstall it just like that. You're going to take the longer Phillips screw and line that up with the little hole underneath the ribbon cable. To make sure you got everything right, it should be just like this. This is normal, this bit of wiggle room here. It sits back a little bit further than the original, and it won't sound the exact same. That should be expected from these aftermarket shells, at least as of making this video. Bit of an awkward step here, but trust me on this one, you're gonna need some masking tape. Just take a piece about this big, but as you can see, there's this little adhesive strip here. It deteriorated and got attached to the screen. That's what you were cleaning off. However, they don't include that in these new shells for some reason. So sometimes the digitizer will hit the plastic and stop working. So I've realized that you have to try and replace it with some kind of object or material. And most of the time, masking tape seems to do the trick. This is perfectly fine. A little bit of an ugly cut there, but just straighten that out and then line the perimeter of the screen. Doesn't really matter how you do it as long as it isn't visible or it doesn't touch where the motherboard's gonna go. But you just fit it just kind of like this around the border of the screen. Not the cleanest I could have done, but it will work nonetheless. Now we will go ahead and put the screen in. Now that the foam was a bit crooked, I'm going to reinstall it to be a bit more accurately put on. If you tore it, just do your best to put it back where it was. It's not going to be visible on the outside of the console anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Now you can reinstall the screen as it was originally. Just push it down a bit. Take the foam, pull it down. Take the antenna, put it through, push the ribbon cable kind of into its little slot, push it down to get the adhesive, and then just, there you go. Take the antenna and push it through the peg and wrap it around the post. You can use your little tweezer to stick it down a bit, just like that. Next, we're going to install the buttons. You just take the little LED indicator and you just put it like that. Now the membranes. Now the triggers. You just take the little spring, put it on the peg like that, and then put it in place. Same for the other. Put the spring on it, and then you just make sure to put it in place. Next, now we are going to reinstall the motherboard. First, I like to attach the ribbon cable for the top screen. You just put that in, latch it down, then you make sure the little ribbon cable fold is sitting in place. And then while holding it at this angle, go to the other side, grab the 3 other ribbon cables, pull them up with the tweezers, make sure all 3 are sticking out, and then push down the motherboard. Then we are going to now screw down the motherboard. Take these slightly longer gold screws and put them where they normally would go. Now we attach the antenna cable by just aligning it right over the connector and then putting it in place like that. Next, the backlight and digitizer. Just make sure to close those. Now make sure the ribbon cable goes in place all the way. Line it up, push it in, close the latch, and there you go. Now with all that done, you can go ahead and grab the bottom shell, grab a tool and push out the battery cover, grab the little nut and then put that in there. Make sure it goes in there all the way, should be like that. Then once that's done, you can just put the bottom shell straight on just like that. Then these bottom screws are now Phillips because that's how these aftermarket screws work. And you just screw them in place. Now with all that done, you can go ahead and put the battery in and put the battery cover on and then screw that shut. Make sure to go ahead and do a quick test. Make sure to check digitizer functionality. Final steps are to install the label. Make sure to install it this way, matching the logo. I like to keep it somewhat still attached. Then I just line up the label and then pull it and stick it down just like that. The rubber little feet, which you will put on the bottom, which go right here and right here on the battery cover. Open up the console. The bigger ones go at the top, with the smaller flat ones at the bottom left and bottom right. Then you go ahead and polish the screen off. Make sure there isn't any excessive dust or any huge pieces of lint. You just grab the back adhesive with the tweezers, line it up, and stick it in place. The console is now finished. Roll the outro. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. It wasn't the best that I could have done, as there was many teeny little mistakes and it wasn't the cleanest footage. However, I decided to turn it into a video anyways, and so there it is. The console's finished, and now I can go ahead and ship it off to him. I went ahead and flashed a special firmware on the console, being DS Lite firmware, onto a DS Original, as these later production motherboard revisions are able of handling that power. Just to show you guys that it works, we can go ahead and put Rhythm Heaven in. The console will boot up, and it will go straight into the game. So that's pretty cool, and if I put a GBA game inside and do the same, also worked just fine. So now, luckily for the person that sent this in, the repair went great. Now I'm going to go ahead and ship this off to them. If you need your Nintendo DS fixed, or if you are not able to fix it, I would be willing to do a repair service. Just go ahead and contact me. So that concludes the very first repair order. This console will be going to the original owner that sent it in, alongside the Toys R Us Game Boy that was the last video I made. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a comment about your thoughts, and if you were able to reshell your DS using this guide, please let me know. If not, also let me know. See you guys next time.